Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Realtree, Muddy Outdoors, Frigid Forage, Hoyt Archery, Fuse Accessories, Rocket Broadheads, Scott Archery, Redneck Hunting Blinds, Cabela's, Bloodsport Arrows, Trophy Rock, Yeti Coolers, Non-Typical Wildlife Solutions, Quiet Cat, Deer Grow, Icon Cameras, and Nikon.
Welcome to Midwest Whitetail. If you were watching on the website and you saw my most recent blog, you know that I've found back this buck that we've nicknamed Big Junior. And the pictures I've been getting of him are on this food plot, this big and beastie plot behind me. But each time he comes out to that camera, and the same thing last year, every time he came to that camera last year, he came from the same direction. And that gives you some indication of where the deer is probably living. You know, especially if it's the first shot that you get in an evening sequence, the direction that he's coming from, obviously that tells you more than just the fact that he's there at the food plot. It also tells you maybe something about where he's originating. And we need to know that, because if he's showing up at midnight or 10:30, that's not helping us any. We got to figure out a little bit better where this deer is spending most of his time. Because that's where we're going to be able to hunt him, hopefully, in daylight. It's possible that he's living right next to the food plot. There's a strip of cover that lays along that valley. It's pretty thick in there. It would give him an advantage of being bedded high and being able to watch down below. And bucks like to bed in places like that. But I don't know for sure that's where he's bedding, and I don't want to put the cameras right on the edge of that and get too close to where he's at before I figure out, more about him. So I've moved 3 cameras on the other side of the valley, trying to pick up maybe the other fringe of where I think this deer might be living. I hope that we get a bunch of pictures of him over there, because that'll tell me then that he's real active, and we're just on the one side or the one fringe of his range. If we're not on the fringe of his range, it's going to be pretty tough, because he's been very nocturnal so far. So that's kind of the strategy. We're not going to pull those cards out of those cameras here for another day or so, and we'll take a look and see what's going on there. But it always makes sense to kind of map out what the range of a buck is before you try to figure out exactly how to go about hunting him. We just don't want to dive in on top of where he might be without really starting to exclude other places first that are lower impact spots where we can get in and out real quick and run the camera and see what's going on. And then once we've narrowed it down, then we'll figure out better what to do with this deer. So at the end of the episode, I'm going to come back and show you what's on those cameras and see if in fact he is living on the other side of the valley, or if he's living right there next to the food plot. But in the meantime, we've had a lot of people hunting right here, the local pro staff. So we've got some stuff to bring in terms of updates. But either way, I'm going to come back at the end of this episode and close up with some of the pictures from the other side of the valley.
Welcome to Midwest Whitetail. It is September 26th. Scott and I headed down here to Missouri this morning. I worked till 3 in the morning and then picked Scott up and we drove straight down here. We're just out and about right now checking trail cameras, and then we're going to jump in the stand tonight for our first hunt. I can't believe how well this big and beasties come in. This field when we started about a month and a half ago was 6-7 feet tall, just grass and weeds. We mowed it down, dissed it 2 or 3 times, and then we came in here and just broadcasted the big and beastie and drug it, and it's come up good. We threw some beans in here with it too, and there's a lot of beans. You can tell the deer are nipping at them. So we're gonna go up over this hill. This is probably a 3-4 acre plot we put in here, and just check it out and head back to the house and see what kind of deer we have here. He's got some awesome genetics, man. He's gonna be a monster. Now that's a shooter.
Well, Don's gonna take us out, drop us off, and then Paul and I got probably about an 800-yard walk to the stand, so we're gonna cut through the bean field and over to the ridge. Well, Paul and I finally made it into the deer stand. We're sitting on a ridge today. This is the highest point of the property. On both these ridges, there's a bunch of oak trees. We can hear the acorns dropping, so we're hoping to see a deer tonight. It's one of the most beautiful spots I've ever sit deer hunting. You can see a lot of different draws and a lot of area and a lot of other fields and other properties. So we're gonna sit back, enjoy God's creation tonight, and hopefully we get a chance at a shooter buck.
Alright, we're ready to go. It's the afternoon of the 27th. Scott and I are headed up here to a water hole. The wind's perfect for it. South winds was blowing it out over a big valley. Perfect night. It's hot, so the deer should be thirsty, and should be a good night.
Before it gets too late, I want to talk about some of the bucks that have showed up on this on the property here in Missouri. The first trip down 6 weeks ago, we pulled the camera cards and we had a few good bucks on it. And since the deer have lost their velvet, last day we picked all the camera cards up and some new bucks have showed up. We got a couple really nice 8-pointers. One's real tall, racked, massive. The other one's real wide and tall. And then we also picked up a real nice 10-pointer with a bunch of stickers around his bases. He looks to be at least a 5.5-year-old deer. We're really excited about the bucks we have to chase here. I think some more bucks will probably move into the area, and we'll pick more up as the season goes. But after tonight, we're heading back to Illinois, and probably the next time we'll be back is the rut. So what our plan is to run the trail cameras about a week before we come out, have my dad pull them, see what's going on, and then we'll go from there. We have a lot of good sets. We have a decent understanding of how the deer are working through these properties. It's going to be a challenge because I'm sure some of that will be changing. But I think, Scott and I's focus has always been to stay out of our spots as much as possible during October and then hit it hard during the rut. We'll be back here in Missouri probably first or second week in November. We'll be doing a little bit of hunting in Illinois, and then end of October we're going to be back to the same thing we usually are, hunting every day, sun up to sundown, through the rut. We're going to be hunting Illinois, Wisconsin, and then we're definitely coming here to Missouri. We got some really nice bucks to chase, and we're really excited about it.
Well, it's October 1st. It's opening day here in Iowa, and Mike and I are out here on our Big Woods unit on the public land. This is the first set of the year, and we're pretty excited. Mike's never harvested a buck with his bow before, so he's in the hunter's stand tonight. I'm just going to film him, kind of get you up to date on what we've been doing on the public land. Basically, I have 4 or 5 of these locations or units that I've kind of code-named, if you will. This is the Big Woods unit. This is a spot that we've been running a lot of trail cameras in, filmed some velvet bucks in this summer. The area gets its name because it's a giant piece of public land that is probably 90% timber, and it's a lot of open oak ridges. It's kind of a hard spot to hunt, but there is a lot of deer in here. Way back in late August, myself and Mike and Zach came in to do some scouting, hang some trail cameras right after a cold front that pushed through, and a lot of these white oaks were just starting to drop thin, the acorns. We were able to film several velvet bucks down in the timber eating acorns, so they've been on this acorn pattern now for over a month, and that's exactly what we're hunting tonight. We've had some trail cameras up over this the edge of this cut cornfield back behind us for these last few weeks,
And this is actually a staging area that leads up to that cornfield. And it's just a big giant white oak flat. And there is acorns absolutely everywhere in here. There's lots of fresh deer sign. But just a few days ago, myself, Mike, and Zach, our other intern, came in here to check this camera that we've got over a mock scrape about 40 yards from the stand. And that's typically what we do on the public land spots. As early September rolls around, we start hanging all of our cameras over scrapes or mock scrapes. We did have 4 shooter bucks on there, nice 5x6, decent 10-pointer, and then kind of a crusty old 7-pointer and another buck that we had in velvet during the middle of September. But they were all in here during daylight at one point or another in the last 2 weeks. Most of the evening pictures too are encouraging because the deer are coming up out of this staging area that we're hunting over and into the corner of this cornfield before hitting that scrape. So Mike's never killed a buck with his bow before. He's ready to be on the trigger, so I'm just going to film him tonight, and with any luck, hopefully one of these bucks will come up through here feeding on acorns tonight before it gets dark. I mean, got high pressure, cold front just pushed through a couple days ago, so if they're going to move, you'd think they'd move tonight. Pretty exciting. We're ready to get the 2015 season rolling, and we'll show you whatever we see tonight. Well, Mike and I just made it back up to the truck. First sit here in Iowa's in the books. We didn't see much, saw a bunch of turkeys. Had one doe come into that oak flat right at dark, but it was too dark for the camera. I turned on my green LED Cabela's headlamp and shined her down below the stand there, and she was down there eating acorns. But we waited for her to move off and got out of there clean. But that's one good thing to do this time of year. That's what we're doing anyway on a lot of these public pieces, is going in and checking out some of these stand locations that we haven't hunted for a while, and making sure that our entry-exit routes are good to go and have everything set up for the rut. But our plan right now is just to keep running cameras over scrapes through the month of October, and if we get any daylight movers, we may hunt them if we get a good cold front or something. But for the most part, we're not going to hit it too hard until the rut gets here, unless the trail cameras tell us to do otherwise. So far, we've got some really good ones on the public land on the different units. Lots of nocturnal movement on the scrapes, but that's kind of to be expected this time of year. We're just putting together an inventory on each one of these locations, and wherever we get pictures of big deer is going to be the spots we concentrate on come November. So we're going to keep running cameras and try to stay out of our best stands until the rut gets here, and hopefully we'll give you another update here in a few weeks on how it's going on the public land.
I pulled the cards from those 3 cameras, and I did not find any pictures of Big Junior on that side of the valley. So that leaves me with a couple of options. I'm going to go a little bit longer there before I conclude that that's not the end where he's coming from. So I figure another 3 days on the corn piles, and that should give me everything I need to know. Then I can stop running cameras in those sites and move on to someplace else. So my conclusive answer as to where he's at is going to have to be on some future episode, and I can't even say for sure that he's not on the other side of the valley, but I'm pretty sure that he's not, or he would have showed up on those cameras. So that means he's either down living someplace in that valley or to a different side there. Either way, starting sometime this coming week, I'll be moving cameras again in an effort to figure out where Big Junior is spending most of his time. We did find a buck that we ran into a lot last fall on the cameras on the other side, and it's a real tight rack 10-pointer, pretty massive, cool looking deer. We figured he was 3 years old last year, just guessing. So he's either 4 or 5 this year looking at him. He didn't get much bigger, so possibly this could be a target before the season's over. He doesn't seem like the type of buck that's going to get a lot bigger. He might trash up and add a few extra little points here and there, but his frame is so tight and compact that all he's really going to do, it looks like, is get more massive. He just really hasn't done much other than that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's one of those time periods of the season when things are sort of settling into place, and I don't have a concrete plan yet. I do think this week, if the wind is right, we're going to go after that 10-pointer that we don't have a name for. He looks like a good buck and one that I'd be proud to put my tag on. So we catch the right wind on that deer, and we'll be hunting him. Otherwise, we're just going to still try to keep putting the puzzle together on Big Junior. Well, I appreciate you joining me this week. I'll see you right back here again next week for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail. And remember to always dream big.